Hello everyone, I'm Bobtheorc, and today we're going to do sort of a special Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts video. I'm going to show you how to start the campaign with a swarm of battleships. If you've watched any of my live streams, usually in the first episode I'm doing some pretty crazy stuff, and I'm going to explain the madness to my method. Now, there are pros and cons to this. I don't always show what I'm doing because it's a long stream. Sometimes people skip ahead. So we're going to do a dedicated video for this technique. So we're going to be starting with Italy because we're going to be doing an upcoming Italian campaign. And as you can see here, we've got a certain amount of naval funds, 310 million. Now, every country is going to be similar in that they'll have some starting naval funds. Spain starts with less. England probably starts with more. I haven't done an English campaign yet. But how do you want, if you're going for a world domination gameplay, how do you do a swarm of battleships? Now, there's pros and cons. The advantage to this method is you can start out with a lot of ships very quickly. But you have to play aggressive because paying for all the ships is really expensive. If we look at the, so there's pros and cons. If we look at the ship designer, and we'll just start with a default battleship. That's going to cost us 10 million, and then once we, let's say we throw on some, put on some big guns, let's say. These things don't fit very well, but it doesn't matter for the purposes. Now we're up to 15 million, and we put on a main tower. These are crappy towers, aren't they? So we put on like a main tower, and we put on some sort of secondary tower, and we do some smokestacks. We're up to 16 million. And then, this can add up. We're not going to be building that many of these. So let's try a different approach. What we're going to do is we're going to do two things. First off, we want to make the battleship as small as possible and cheap as possible. But we're going to give it the maximum displacement we can because that's going to be important later. Okay? And we're going to go in and we're going to try and zero out all of the armor because armor's expensive. And we're going to make our starting battleships just as cheap as absolutely possible. Now what we're going to do is we're going to maximize the crew quarters though. Now here's the logic behind it. We have a fixed amount of money that we can buy ships with, and they instantly appear. So we want as many hulls as possible, as cheap as possible, with the understanding that we're going to refit these later. We're going to start mothballing them once they're built, and we're going to refit them later. But there's a couple things that we need. First off, we need a main tower. So we'll have a main tower. We're going to need a secondary tower. So we'll just toss a secondary tower here. We're going to need a smokestack, at least one, so we're going to toss one there. We need at least a main gun. Now what I want to do is I want to take the smallest, cheapest main gun, and we're going to put one on the front, we're going to put one on the back. Now the reason is, if we only put one, then when we try to refit it later, it won't let us put a second one in the back, so there's some limitations. And we want to drop the armor on these because armor's expensive, and we're going to make the turret length, the barrel length, as small as possible. So this is a minimal battleship that costs us 3.8 million. Is there anything else we can do to try and shrink this thing down? Now the reason this is about as minimal as we can get. Now the reason we're going for maximum crew is one of the big limitations in the game is how fast you can train up crew. Your battleships that you start out with, or whatever ships you start out with, automatically start fully crewed. So, right here where it says 371 crew, if we go with minimal crew, that's 260. So we want to start with as many crew as possible. It doesn't change the cost that much. And this way we can use these crew for other ships later. And if we scooch around, that doesn't really seem to change. This doesn't really change our cost that much. Still looking at 3.8 million. So this is about as small as we can make this ship, or as inexpensive as we can make the ship. And by going with the maximum displacement, we can do stuff later to upgrade it. So this is kind of our starting hull. We're going to call this the Hoplite, just because it's a Greek name and we're doing the Italian campaign, and it'll be funny later. So we're going to go save this. Now, we can also do this with smaller ships. So we're going to do a small ship example also. We're going to take a light cruiser, because I love light cruisers, and we are going to make everything as minimal as possible. We're going to max out the crew. We're going to max out, looks like we get 3,000 is our largest size for that. And then we'll zero out all the values, and you can see the cost of this thing dropping down to not a whole lot. We need an obligatory front tower, we need a funnel, and we need an obligatory rear tower, and we want to make sure that we have at least some guns in the front and in the back. That way we can deal with that, so we're not limited by placement problems later. So we can make this light cruiser for $1 million, which personally, in my opinion, I think that you get a better bang for the buck out of the battleships, because light cruisers are not that expensive anyway. But I'm just showing you how you can do a starting light cruiser also, because we want to spend that initial naval money. So we're going to go save that too. And like I said, the pros are you get a bunch of battleships starting out, and the cons are, these are kind of crappy ships, because less than 4 million is better than 16, 17, 18 million for your starting ship. So we're going to go build all of these, because we are not limited by shipyard size. And so we're going to start with 80 battleships. That's insane. Boom. We've got 80 battleships. And we are going to tell them, where do we want to build these at? We're going to put them in Palermo, because I like Palermo. That's going to be our base of operation. Okay, so how much money do we have left? We have... yeah, because there's no way that we would have the shipbuilding capacity to build all of these ships at once, because this is nearly 1 million tons of ships. This is 731,000 tons of ships. This is insane. We're going to also build our shipyard. We want to maximize our transports. And then we are going to drop stuff down as low as we can. And then we still have some money left over, so we can go and build 3 patrol ships. We can build 2 patrol ships. And that's what we got. And we'll go put these guys in Palermo also. And this way we've got all the tonnage we need to invade the hell out of everything early on. Now the downside is our economy is going to be in some trouble. We're not going to develop our tech as fast. Speaking of tech, from my perspective, we want to maximize small guns, big guns, and normally I go for range finders, because I want to be able to target things, and I want to be able to get my I want to get those the Mark II 2-inch guns, and I want to get the Mark II 9-inch guns, because that will give me a lot of better rate of fire, better armor penetration, better accuracy later on. And the rangefinders are always important, because first one to radar has a big advantage. So that's how we're going to do our tech. So that's our starting turn. We have a positive number of money coming in each turn. We're building our bigger shipyard. So this is our opening, and we'll do... So now we have started, we have all of these ships ready to go. Let's check our finances, and fleet maintenance is costing us a lot of money. And these ships suck, and they're not really all that useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all but one of these ships, and we're going to mothball them. Boom. That's going to save us an awful lot of money. So now our fleet maintenance is only 45,000 because mothballed ships are cheap. Look how cheap this is. So, next thing we have to do is we have to go and make this a better ship because, you know, it kind of sucks. So, you're still going to end up having to pay for it, right? This isn't like getting free battleships. The money is still being spent. So what we're going to do is, now that we're going to we'll go clean this out, and we're going to go with, you know, double 9-inch guns up front and in the back. Let me scooch this back a little bit, yeah. So now we're going to go actually refit our ships. We're going to drop our crew quarters down because we want to have all this extra crew, and I don't usually do a lot of crew. And I'm going to try and increase the draft a little bit. Let's see here. Minus 8.3. There we go. So that's pretty close because we want the tonnage for invasioning. Minus 8.28. Minus 8.27. Minus 8.26. We want every little ton we can get. There we go. 9,500 tons. And then we're going to need our main tower. So we're going to go for the best main tower we can, which is our best spotting range, which is kind of crappy. I mean, this early Italian ship is not fantastic. Go for minimal rear tower because I want to keep this as small as possible. And then as far as, we're going to do our little barbette trick, and we want to have some barbettes. Let's see here. Can we do? We can. Can I do the? Can I do a? No, I can't fit this up here, can I? That'd be so awesome if I could. No, it won't let me. All right, so we're gonna go. No, it won't let me do. It won't let me do 2 barbettes. Oh, and it won't let me do that yet either. So we're gonna try and cheese out the barbettes a little bit. Getting the barbettes to work in these early ships is all about how you build it out. Alright, so we can't do that one. Oh, you know what? We're gonna need funnel space now that I think about it. So we may not be able to put anything up there because I may have to do funnels, which just occurred to me. So let's go for some. Let's go for some thick funnels. There we go. Because we want this thing to go faster. Let's go like 18 knots or something, which isn't great, but it's not bad. And then we'll put on some. We'll put on some smaller. Can we fit 5-inch guns on here? I'd love to fit 6-inch guns, but I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't like that. We'll have to wait till we can have the hull a little bit a little bit bigger. So we'll do like a 5-inch gun. There we go. Actually, we're going to do 2. We're going to save some money. So we're going to go for our... so right now, basically, we're just going to refit like we normally would. We also want to get our bulkheads, because that's super important. Now, it's going to take me a long time to refit this ship, but we're still developing technology, so it's not the end of the world. So we can just kind of build this out kind of how we normally would. And just plan on this taking a long time to develop. But we're going to need our... I don't want to go unbalanced rudder, actually. We don't have any of this stuff yet. Standard shells. Yeah, that's all. Nothing we can do about any of this yet. We're going to go for extra ammo, bigger shell size, because I like that. And then we're just going to stick it into armor and just kind of build out, build out the ship. And then we can... go put in some extra secondary guns. We'll get some extra casemate guns. I mean, we could do 4-inchers instead. That might be spicy. We could make this thing pretty... We can make this thing pretty spicy. So maybe we'll go... go with like some 4-inch guns. Although the 2s I might do instead, just because we'll have the 2.9s coming up. I don't really want to do stuff in the very front and back, but this is, so this gives us some degree of power here. I'd like to go faster than 18 knots, but I don't think it's gonna... Can we go 19? Go 19 knots. Can we go 20? This thing goes pretty... We can make this thing go pretty quick, so we're gonna make this go 20 knots. It's gonna be a fast-ass ship. The engine efficiency is gonna suck, but we can make it go fast. And then we're just gonna jack up the... we need to jack up the foredeck, or the forward belt and the forward deck. Whoops. Go balance this out a little bit better. So that's... Make sure that's getting in the way there. We want to keep our good... Yeah, that's as good as we're going to get. So, I mean, this isn't awful. And then we'll just keep increase. Oh, we need conning tower. No, we don't get a lot of conning tower there, do we? We sure don't. And we don't really get a lot of that either. I think 2 inches is probably fine for that. So, I mean, there we go. So this is a pretty okay battleship, right? And if we'd built this right off the bat, it'd be a $22 million battleship, and we would have gotten like 12 of these things. So we're going to go ahead and save this design, and we'll start refitting this battleship. And we can do the same thing with our patrol ship. And then over time, while the others are mothballed, we can eventually bring them out of mothball as we refit the ships later, but we have the hulls. And in future refits, the future refits will start getting faster. You know, so let's say we want to give this thing maximum bulkheads, we want to make it go 20 knots. We can't increase anything here, so we'll keep that minimal. Go composite armor, unbalanced, give it a citadel. You know, maximum stuff. Let's go max out the armor on the on everywhere we can, because we want this thing to not be too squishy. And so what we can do here now, let's see here, our front tower 2. We'll take that out for now. Let's see, this has 7, so we go with the some funnels. We'll go with a barbette up front. And then we can go with our secondary town, see 0.8 accuracy, 1.5 doesn't really make that big of a difference. So we just go with, I'd love to be able to fit a small tower down here somewhere. So maybe we can do it like this and fit these down here. There we go. This way we don't have it blocking up there. We can go with a maybe go with like a barbette. Actually, we probably... So that'll get in the way of... That kind of gets in the way of these things, doesn't it? Yeah, that sort of does. We're going to keep the barbette further back like this. And we're just going to go gun up here. And we'll do a gun there. And so this gives us some guns. And let's give these guys some armor. We still have a lot of tonnage left. Can we make this thing go faster? Can we go 22 knots? We can. Our engine efficiency stinks. But we can go pretty quick. And can we scooch you back any? No, this is... So this gives us a lot of guns. I love center line guns. Now the problem is we have too much forward weight. So let's see if we can get some stuff back here maybe. We're gonna have to just drop I think we have to drop forward deck to make that work. Now another possibility is we double up these guns over here and just trying to offset, offset the weight. Don't really like this idea because I don't like having, the doubling up the guns is not super efficient, but this may be the most practical way to do it for now. Or we could try and keep going faster. So 23 is our kind of our wall where we hit. Or we could go longer range and we could do something like this. Now we're gonna have the 22.5. We do something like this, I guess. Just go use up this tonnage. .9. It'll just drop. Oh, that drops a lot of weight, doesn't it? We're gonna just do that. All right, there we go. So this gives us a pretty darn fast patrol ship. I guess we could have gone with some casemate guns also, but this sort of shows, what you can do, and we can always take one of these out of always refit you also. So we'll just do both, and they don't weigh very much. So this is how you start with a lot of ships at the very beginning. Oops, I forgot to refit the hoplite. There we go. And now it'll going to take time. We're going to have to rebuild these ships, but it doesn't fill up our port. We can still build new ships. We can then, start increasing our tech budget. We probably want some crew training, actually. Let's go like 25%. So we could still have our tech budget, and we can build up our economy over time and still have our swarm of ships in reserve that we can start building out over time. And in future, once we finish the first refit, the following refit won't take as much time. And so you can start spitting these out faster when you need them. You can leave them mothballed. And right now we have the starting crew pool of 36, almost 37,000, which we wouldn't have had otherwise. Anyway, so that's kind of the secret of how you swarm with a bunch of battleships in the beginning for global conquest and profit. And but this does force you into an aggressive play style, because if you're going to have, like 80 battleships, even though these are kind of small baby battleships, if you're going to deploy them all, you're going to need a big economy, which means you're going to conquer a lot of stuff. And so you can basically pull these out of mothball and use them to grab territory, because you have instant invasion fleet for an instant advantage once you get them refitted up. But it'll take you a few years to... It'll take you a little bit to get them all refitted out. Like I said, after the first refit, as you do future upgrades and designs and whatnot, the smaller the change and the refit, the less time it takes. So getting past that first refit's the real big problem. So, there's pros and cons. You're not going to be as advanced on the tech because you're going to be supporting this heavy fleet, but you're going to be able to do a lot of invasion stuff right off the bat, and they're going to be like, what the hell? How do you have so many ships? So, anyway, that's the secret. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will catch you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.